months or less than 6 months, they won't allow you to travel. They won't even allow you that. They will send you back home. Everyone, so welcome back to my channel on today's episode of the questions I was asked by immigration, because you all have been dropping your messages asking the questions I was asked by immigration. So that's the purpose of this whole video. So I'm going to tell you guys the questions I was asked by immigration in Nigeria and when I got to Canada here, because I was questioned by immigration back in Nigeria and here in Canada as well. So, but before we proceed, I've been seeing you all support. Like, we recently hit 100 subscribers. Yay! So thank you all. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate your comments and everything. So I'm just going to tell you guys to please keep pushing your the like button. You know, share this video, because I don't know, someone else might be in the situation of, you know, relocating, and they might need advice. They might need someone who's already there to, you know, put them through and all of that. So that is the purpose of all my videos. Okay, so please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave your comments. Please don't forget to share. Okay, share this video. So now let's delve into our point of discussion for today. I actually left from Ikeja, Muritala Mohammed International Airport. So when I got there, you know, they checked my my bags, the things I was you know, traveling with, and all of that. I actually had a bit of issue with the things I was carrying in regards to my, you know, my food, because I don't know what they are called again. They said they are food pest control. So they said they were going to seize some of the food items I carried, and those food items they were trying to seize were like the dry fish, the dry cow skin, pomo. So, but then they asked me to pay a certain amount of money. That was quite much. So I was like trying to plead, and they were, you know, trying to change it for me. So anyways, I got that sorted out. Then I proceeded to the airline which I was going to board. So the airline I used was Lufthansa. And I weighed my luggage with the airline I was traveling with. I weighed it with them. And like I mentioned in my previous video, so they have a certain amount of luggage one is required to carry. Okay, so you're going to have to weigh on their scale. Actually, before getting to the airport, I weighed my luggages, of course, and they were a bit, you know, just a bit over the required quantity of items I was meant to carry. But on getting to the airport, I realized that it was way high, like it was more than I was required to carry. So I don't know how their scale works. But just be prepared, okay? Just know that the scale you get at the airport, or they have at airport, is quite different from the scale you would use at home. So like I went with an extra bag, like you also in the video. I went with an extra Ghana Must Go bag, because I heard that bag is very expensive there in the airport. So I had to get mine from home. So when I weighed, when I put my luggage on the scale, it showed excess, so I had to remove. And like I mentioned, remember, you have to get to the airport very, very early, like very early, because if your luggage is more than the required amount of baggage you're meant to carry, you have to keep joining the line. Like you can imagine when there is a lot of queue, everyone is trying to weigh their luggage. Like if you've weighed your bag and it's more than you are supposed to carry, so except you want to pay for excess luggage, if you're not paying for excess luggage, then you have to reduce what you have in your luggage. And to do that, you're going to excuse the line. When you're done, you have to join the queue, like you have to go back. Even I did that 3 times, so it was really, really exhausting. And the good thing was that I arrived on time, because you have to arrive on time. You have to arrive way on time before, you know, your plane leaves. So I arrived on time, and I was able to do all of that. So when you finish from that line of weighing your weighing your baggage, then you move to the section where you have the drug control, or I don't even know what they are, but they are going to put your luggage on a certain machine. They're going to scan it, and this is all back in Nigeria, by the way. So they are going to scan it, and then you have those who actually like manual search your bag manually to see if there is any unwanted item in your luggage. Like they search for drugs, they search for unwanted food items and all of that. The screening in Nigeria airports was quite much, to be honest. Like they were screening a lot. So after I left that section, then I went to the immigration. Now, so when I go to the immigration, it was two ladies who attended to me. So they asked for my document. So the first thing they asked for was my passport, which I gave them. Then they asked for my document. They asked me my purpose for traveling. I told them. Then they asked for my offer letter from my school, which I gave them. Then they asked for my enrollment letter. Then I told them, oh, my school hasn't issued an enrollment letter yet until my study resumes, which of course that's what my school does. And that is also what my school authorities, told us to tell whatever immigration officer asked us that question. So that's what I told them. Then they asked for my payments, my school payment receipts, my tuition payments. Okay, so I had my payment receipts, but I didn't give them my payment receipts. She asked me to give her my documents, so I didn't give her my payment receipts. Reason because my admission letter, like my letter of acceptance has the amount I had already paid. It reflected it. So that was what I gave her. So I pointed it out to her that this is the payment is already there. So I already paid. I think it's more than half, 50% of my tuition fee I paid. So I pointed it out to her there. And then she kept, scanning my passport over and over again. So this is because I had two passports. One where the visa was due to expire, and I have a new one which I had renewed. Okay, so they were scanning and scanning and scanning. I just stood there and I waited for whatever it is they wanted to say. So that was literally the only documents they required, or they requested from me at the Nigerian airport. So they requested my letter of acceptance, my payment receipt, my passport. Yeah, those were the three documents I showed them. So after that, they gave me the documents I needed to move forward. So after that, I went to another checkpoint where they asked me for the address of where I'll be staying and the number of where I'll be staying in Canada. So I also gave them that information. So before you travel, ensure you have booked your hotel. If it's an hotel you're staying, if it's an Airbnb, if it's a house, just if you're going to stay with someone, just ensure you get the address of where you're going to. You get the address, you get their number. I got to Canada. The first thing I did was to declare. So you're going to, when you enter, they're going to show you a place. It's a self-service, like it's computer sort of. So you're going to declare the things you're coming into Canada with, and I can't really remember some of the questions that the machine asked, but some of the questions I can remember is they ask if you're coming in with more than 10,000 Canadian dollars. So if you're coming with such an amount of money, you need to declare it. That is, you need to let the immigration officers know, because it is not allowed for one to bring in that amount of cash into the country. If you didn't declare it, you might get into trouble if they find it on you. So another thing you're going to need to declare is the goods you're carrying. They're going to ask you if you're carrying a milk item, I think some beef, some. So they're going to ask you if you're carrying some beef, if you're carrying some, animals that are not allowed, like animals that contain Ebola, whatever. They just want to be sure you're not bringing in any virus to them, or any items that contains disease and virus infected food, So you have to declare all of those. So after that, they're going to print out After answering those questions, and another question is going to ask you is how long is your study for? If you're coming in through study, how long is your program for? So, and I think if you're not coming in through study, it's going to ask you how long you intend staying in the country, I guess. So you have to answer all of those honestly, because it needs to match with the documents you're bringing. Because after that, they still have to cross-check the information you entered. So when you have, you know, answered all of those questions, the machine is going to print out a document which you will take to the immigration officer. So when you finish from the machine, you have to take that printout slip, the slip that the machine printed out. You have to take it to the immigration officer. They will check, and then they will refer you to the immigration officer where you get your study permits. So when I go to the immigration officer where I'm to get my study permits, they requested for my passports. I give them my 2 passports. Remember, I told you guys I had 2 passports on me. The one that was about to expire, that had my visa on it, and the new one which I renewed, okay, before coming. So I gave them 2 of the passports. Then they requested for the purpose of my visit, or the reason why I'm in Canada. I told them it's for study. So when I told them it was for study, they asked me for how long. I told them the amount of, you know, the time my study was, you know, going to take. So I told them that, and then they looked into the printout you printed. So I made a mistake. So when I was inputting my information on that machine, I forgot to put the month, the years that was required for my study. Okay, I only typed the number. Okay, so when I went to the immigration officer, he was like, "Are you only here for so days?" I'm like, "No, I'm here for so." He said, "Oh, I only typed the number." Oh, I said, "Oh, I must have, you know, misunderstood the machine." He said, "Okay." Then he asked me for my offer letter. That is my letter of admission from my school, which I gave to him. Then he asked me if I have paid for my tuition. I think he asked me. Yeah, then I pointed it out. So another document you don't want to forget is your letter of introduction. Your letter of introduction is the letter that comes along with your passport request letter. Okay, that's letter, that email you are going to get that says passport request. Then you also get your letter of introduction. So your letter of introduction is IRCC introducing you to the immigration officer, telling them that your visa has been approved and that you've been granted a visa for so duration of time. So you need to print those out and put in your document. It is very, very important. That's you know, that shows that yes, you are there, that the visa you have, it's not fake, that it is real and genuine. Now, all in all, the immigration officers at Canada asked for 3 documents: my letter of introduction, my passport, my offer letter from my school. Now, since they asked me for those 3 documents, but I'll advise you go with all your documents, because you don't know what officer you would meet and what document he would request for. And mind you, these people have the right to turn you down from entering into Canada. They've been given that right. So if you can't present any of your documents, then that means you won't be able to enter. So with me, I had a little bit of an issue because with immigration in Canada, because like I mentioned, I had 2 passports. So like in Nigeria, they were also checking like how come 2 passports and all of that. So they were, you know, they were having mixed thoughts on if to process my old passport that has my visa on it or the new passport. So they were going back and forth, calling their colleagues. Like 3 to 4 immigration officers were there over my case, and I was like, what is happening? Your girl was already a bit scared. I was like, God, let my village people not follow me down here. So at the end, they told me, oh, we're really sorry, we can't give you more than the required amount of time you have on your visa. So that's another thing you need to know. Guys, I wish I got this information on time, but before you apply for visa, Biko, Jowo, please check your passport validity, because it is a serious problem. It is a serious issue. I had a serious issue with my passport, in the sense that I didn't have longer time left on my passport, and that's made me have to renew my passport before traveling, and that was so stressful. And it also was stressful when I was coming down here. I wasn't properly advised by the agent I used for my visa process, and So you all be careful, because most of these agents, they are just after their money. They won't properly advise you. So before you make any travel plans, before you apply for any visa whatsoever, check your passport validity. So if, for example, you're coming on a study visa and your study is meant to be for 3 years, and you have a visa validity of 1 year or less than 1 year, trust me, the visa they will give you is not going to exceed the validity of your passport. If you have 6 months left on your passport, it is 6 months visa they will give you. If you have 7 months, 8 months left on your passport, it's 8 months of visa they will give you. And that will make you have to spend money all over again to renew your visa or your study permit or work permit or whatever, you know, means you're entering the country where you're going to. So please, before you do anything, ensure you renew your passport if your passport is soon to expire. I wish I knew this beforehand. I never knew, and that really put a whole stress on me. So with immigration officers, they were going back and forth, asking themselves questions on how to, you know, issue my study permit and all of that. So it took me a while at the airport. That's why if you watch my previous video, I mentioned it seemed like an eternity with immigration officers. So to avoid that, ensure you have a valid passport. Like, get you a valid passport. So that was what I did. And you should also know that you can't travel with a visa that is less than 6 months valid, even if you want to jackpot or anything, because if your visa is just 6 months or less than 6 months, they won't allow you to travel. They won't even allow you. That they will send you back home. So ensure that your passport is, you know, is valid and okay. So now let's make a review of everything we've talked about, the documents I was asked. So in Nigeria, I was asked for my passport, admission letter, tuition fee receipts, payment receipts, tuition fee receipts. Yeah. So those are the 3 things I was asked in Nigeria. And then at the immigration in Canada, I was asked my letter of correspondence, my passport, and my offer letter. So those were the documents I was asked. So, but like I mentioned, ensure you go with all your documents, because you don't know what what immigration officer you will meet and the documents they will request from you. Okay, you don't want to do all of the whole processing, spend all of that money and then be denied entry. You don't want to go through all of that and be denied entry at the point of entry into whatever country you're traveling to. Okay, so this is where we're going to draw the curtain for this video. Okay, I hope I've answered some of your questions, and if you still have more questions, please just leave them in the comment section below. Okay, and I'll take my time to answer those which I can answer, and those which I need to make a video on, I'll still make a video on it. Okay, and yes, that reminds me, some of you have been asking about my visa processing, so that video will be coming up soon. I'm going to make a video on that, so just stay tuned, you know, turn on your notification bell and be sure to, you know, keep leaving your comments. So thank you all for seeing this video. See you all in my next video. Bye.